In a city that buzzed with the hum of hurry and the rush of deadlines, there was a quiet, forgotten street. And on that street there was a small shop with a faded wooden sign that simply read, "Mended." Inside this shop worked a man named Elias. Elias was not a mender of important things. He did not fix broken clocks, torn clothes, or shattered furniture. He was the mender of forgotten things. His specialty was the insignificant, the overlooked, the items that no one else would ever think to save. He would spend a week polishing a single lost button, a month realigning the bristles of a discarded paintbrush, and a season contemplating the perfect way to fix a teacup with a hairline crack that only he could see. This is the story of his most patient and perhaps most pointless project yet: to mend a tiny ceramic bird with a chip on its wing so small it could be mistaken for a speck of dust. It is a story about nothing much, and therefore about everything that truly matters. In a city that buzzed with the hum of hurry and the rush of deadlines, there was a quiet, forgotten street. And on that street there was a small shop with a faded wooden sign that simply read, "Mended." Inside this shop worked a man named Elias. Elias was not a mender of important things. He did not fix broken clocks, torn clothes, or shattered furniture. He was the mender of forgotten things. His specialty was the insignificant, the overlooked, the items that no one else would ever think to save. He would spend a week polishing a single lost button, a month realigning the bristles of a discarded paintbrush, and a season contemplating the perfect way to fix a teacup with a hairline crack that only he could see. This is the story of his most patient and perhaps most pointless project yet. It began not with a client, for Elias did not take them, but with a box. It was a dusty, cardboard box he had acquired from an old estate sale, smelling of attics and time. Inside, beneath a tangle of tarnished keys and a book of faded photographs of strangers, his fingers found something small and cool. It was a tiny ceramic bird, glazed in a shade of pale eggshell blue. It was almost perfect, except for a chip on the edge of its wing, a flaw so minuscule it could be mistaken for a speck of dust. To anyone else, it was a piece of broken sentiment. To Elias, it was a project. He took the bird and placed it on a square of black velvet in the center of his workbench, and there it sat for days. Elias did not begin his work. He simply observed. He was a student of light and shadow, and the bird was his subject. He watched the way the soft morning light caught its glaze, making it gleam like a piece of captured sky. He watched how the warm afternoon sun revealed the depth of the tiny chip, and how the gray light of evening softened its form into a gentle silhouette. His workshop was a sanctuary of silence, filled only with the scent of aged wood and beeswax, and the sight of dust motes dancing in the sunbeams. After a week of silent contemplation, he began the cleaning. A brush, made from a single soft sable hair, and with the patience of a saint, began to remove the decades of accumulated dust from every tiny crevice. His breath was slow and steady, a gentle rhythm in the quiet room, careful not to disturb a single particle. He cleaned the bird as if he were cleaning a precious jewel, honoring its journey through time. Only then did he prepare for the mending. It was a ritual as old as his practice. He needed to create a filler, so he took a shard of similarly colored ceramic and, using a small mortar and pestle, ground it down into a superfine powder, as fine as flour. He mixed this powder with a single drop of clear, slow-drying resin, working it into a smooth, thick paste. Next came the color. He laid out his mineral pigments like an artist preparing a masterpiece. A pinch of lapis, a touch of cobalt, a larger measure of white chalk, all ground together until the color was an exact, indistinguishable match for the bird's pale blue wing. With his materials prepared, the true mending could begin. He sat at his bench, his posture straight, his focus absolute. The world outside the shop, with its noise and its rush, ceased to exist. There was only him, the bird, and the task. He dipped the very tip of a fine needle into the ceramic paste and applied a microscopic amount to the chip. He worked in thin layers, allowing each to partially set before adding the next, building the missing piece up atom by atom. His hand was impossibly steady, his breathing a silent, measured tide. Once the filler was hard, he took a small, worn square of silk knot sandpaper, which would be far too coarse, and began to polish the mended area. He worked in slow, circular motions, his touch as light as a moth's wing, until the surface was perfectly, seamlessly smooth. Finally, he took his single hairbrush, dipped it into the pale blue paint he had mixed, and applied one final, deliberate stroke. The flaw vanished. The wing was whole. He held the bird in his palm for a long moment, admiring the seamless repair. Then, with infinite care, he placed it on a high, safe shelf in the workshop, leaving it to cure and to rest in the quiet dark. A week later, he took it down. The mend was complete, invisible to any eye but his own. He didn't place it in his shop window for sale, nor did he seek a buyer. That was not the point of his work. Instead, he opened a small, glass-fronted cabinet that stood in the corner of his shop. Inside were his other finished projects: the polished button, the perfectly aligned paintbrush, the soundly mended teacup. He placed the small, ceramic bird among them, another forgotten thing made whole, another small act of care completed. He closed the glass door, looked out the window at the setting sun, and a feeling of quiet, profound contentment washed over him. His work was done.